Hey everybody, it's Shaman Sister Sin, and you're listening to the Meditations and More podcast brought to you by shamanspiritcenter.com and littleshaman.org. That's me, the Little Shaman. Today I wanted to talk to you about a popular topic lately, which is identifying narcissists just by looking at them, by asking them a question, and things like that. It's understandable why this is a popular topic. The ability to operate without detection is the pathological narcissist's primary weapon, and learning to recognize them early on removes this weapon from their arsenal. However, the reality is just not that simple. Part of the reason narcissistic people are able to operate under the radar is because they do come across like other people a lot of the time. This is one reason it's so hard to get a diagnosis. They're not reporting experiences that other people don't have. If it were like schizophrenia, for example, where the person is having experiences that other people don't have, it would be a lot easier to see that there's a dysfunction here. The narcissist is reporting experiences and emotions that other people do have, and usually for the same reasons that other people have them. For example, they might be reporting that they feel upset and emotionally dysregulated because they're being abused by their partner. This is not an uncommon thing in our society, and their mindset, emotions, and thought processes might seem to validate that experience or that perception. It's only when someone has a full and complete understanding of the reality or the situation that they can see the narcissist's reported experience doesn't make any sense. In our example, they seem to be having all the recognized reactions to being abused, but they are not actually being abused. This is where their behavior and experiences stop making sense. If someone really were being abused, the reported reactions would make sense. If they're not, they don't. This is why it's much easier for them to get people outside of their little bubble of reality to believe them. These people don't have key information that is necessary to understand that this is not what's happening, so they believe what they're presented with because it looks like the truth. After all, who would lie about that? People don't stop to think that sometimes somebody will lie about that, and that even if they believe themselves to be telling the truth, they could be misinterpreting the situation. They seem so sure. They seem so upset. How could this not be true? The problem is, we often find that it isn't. In cases where there are false allegations of abuse by a narcissist, it is a misperception resulting from the narcissist's hypervigilance and projected self-hatred, or it's simply made up to demonize the other person and or for attention and sympathy. This is why it's not possible to reliably identify pathological narcissism using anything other than observable and established patterns. Relying on any other formula to do so is dangerous, and it's usually pretty unhelpful, actually. It doesn't matter what kind of clothes they wear or what kind of car they drive or the answer they give to a question. Narcissists are people, and these things are going to vary from person to person. Without context, behavior means nothing. We can see this clearly in our earlier example of false allegations of abuse. The narcissist's behavior may genuinely seem to validate that abuse is happening to them when observed by people without all the facts, but when the whole situation is seen, with context, in other words, their behavior no longer makes any sense, and in fact can point to a perception issue that may indicate pretty serious psychological or emotional instability. At the very least, it points to someone who is purposely making things up to hurt others or for sympathy, which can also call their mental health into question. One question or two questions or even 20 questions will not identify a narcissist most of the time. The battery of tests they are subjected to by clinical professionals often does not even identify them. They know how to give the, quote, right answers to things, meaning the things others expect them to say or what others believe is acceptable. They might even believe those things are true, at least in that moment. In the grand scheme of things, though, it doesn't mean anything. People can lie, they can be wrong, they can misunderstand. But patterns don't lie, and they're not wrong. They are reliable when someone's real-time words or behavior are not. If you're using something other than an observable, established pattern to identify narcissists, this is dangerous. Not just for you, but because it may demonize people who are not narcissists but unwittingly give the, quote, wrong answer. Using blanket responses or arbitrary criteria to classify people is unhelpful. We have to evaluate people individually. We have to evaluate them based on their patterns. This is why learning to recognize red flags is so important. If someone is disrespectful, if they violate boundaries, if they move too fast, if they can't understand concepts like making mistakes or misunderstanding something, if they're demanding, dismissive, demeaning, these kinds of things are all you really need to know. It's understandable that people would want to feel like they have some way to identify narcissists before they become too involved with them. And there is a way. Learn to create and enforce strong boundaries. There's no shortcut to this and no way to avoid the work no matter what anybody says. Strong boundaries are the only test you need, and they will identify anyone who's not interested in respecting you, not just narcissists. I hope this clears a few things up for you. As always, I look forward to your comments, questions, and suggestions, so please keep those coming. I take appointments online, over the phone, via text, via messenger, through email, and through Skype. So if you're interested in speaking with me one-on-one, you can visit littleshaman.org and click the Book an Appointment tab to do that. I teach workshops a few times a month, and we have the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Clinic that runs several times a year. So if you're interested in signing up for any of those, you can visit littleshaman.org to do that as well. You've been listening to the Meditations and More podcast, brought to you by shamanspiritcenter.com and littleshaman.org. That's me, Little Shaman. May the Great Spirit bless you and have a wonderful day.